What's up, guys? RJ Bates III here, and today we're going to be talking about how do you make your own luck. St. Patrick's Day, we got to talk about luck, right? One of the things that I've been called lucky in is winning back-to-back Closers Olympics, winning the Wholesaling Live Challenge in 2022. And all of these times I've gone live and closed deals, I've seen comments, I've seen people say, hey, you know, RJ got lucky. He got some good leads. Some people that didn't win, you know, they had bad luck with the leads that they got, and that's why they weren't able to showcase their skills. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the role that I probably don't get credit for in playing in the creating my luck there, because a lot of it was preparation and me thinking about what I needed to do to put myself in the best position to close deals in these types of scenarios, and how you can use the exact same strategies that I used there. Now, we've all heard this saying before, but luck is when preparation meets opportunity, okay? And I believe in that because I'm always thinking about if this, then what? So when I go into these closers competitions, or I'm doing a live where I say, hey, I'm going to go live here on YouTube and I'm going to close a deal today, I'm always thinking about how am I going to put myself in the best position to do that? And are you doing that inside of your business on a daily basis? Because I don't think sometimes we're thinking about it. It's just like we're very robotic, and we come in and it's like, oh, here's my new leads. I'm going to call my new leads. Okay. There's my follow-ups. I'm going to call my follow-ups, and we're just kind of strolling through and just dial after dial after dial, and not really thinking about the actions that we're taking and the decisions that we're making and the time that we're utilizing to get results. Whereas I am constantly thinking about what I need to do. So let's talk about the 2023 Closers Olympics. This is the most recent Closers Olympics, and the one that I really did a lot of preparation mentally for in comparison to the others, because I knew I was the favorite coming in. I knew that I was the defending champion. There would be a lot of pressure, and probably some things that were not going to go in my favor. And to be honest with you, quite a few things did not go in my favor. For example, on my first day, Saturday, I was the last person to go. Now, I will say, Closers Olympics came and said, hey, RJ, we're going to move your time slot. I know that by the luck of the wheel, you were the last person. We know that's the worst time slot. We're going to bump you up and make the open run guys go after you. And so this would have moved me more to like late afternoon on Saturday. And I actually refused it. I said, no, I'm going to stick with the spot that I drew, which was the worst spot out of anyone. And I want to continue this. I had thought about this being a possibility because in every other Closers Olympics, I'd actually gone in the premier spots, which was like early afternoon, late morning, second, third, fourth, somewhere around there. That's when I dialed, and that's the best time to dial during a weekend, which Closers Olympics is always on the weekend. So I had figured at some point in time, I mean, this is my third go around, I have to get one of the later slots. I hoped it wouldn't have been the last spot, but it was. So I'd actually made some preparations around this. Now, I always talk about it. What are the two most important things when we're talking to sellers, right? Price and motivation. These are the two most important things. Anytime I am inside of a competition or a live, or I'm trying to close a deal right now, I will tell you the most important thing for me to know about that lead is the seller's motivation on why they are selling the house. I would rather have that than their name, their address. Like, I don't need to know any of that. Give me their phone number and their motivation, and I'm good to go. I can get the rest of it out. Hey, I got a lead here. Got your phone number saying you're looking to sell a house and you need to sell it because insert motivation. I'll start the conversation that way. I don't care. I just need to know that they are motivated to sell that house. So the way the Closers Olympics works is that they give us a list of leads. And I believe, if memory serves me correctly, I think they gave us 20 leads. And it comes across in just a Excel spreadsheet, and you don't get it until right before you're about to go on. So, 5 minutes before you're going on, you're about to be on backstage, they're about to announce you get an email, boom, there's your leads. I'm going to tell you, the first thing I do is I am prepared to open that up and immediately go to the motivation. And what I'm looking for is the people that are first and foremost financially motivated, and then second, physically motivated. So structural issues, flood damage, storm damage, stuff like that. Sometimes those physically distressed properties are so damaged that they're kind of upside down, and those can be lengthy conversations, not like in real life where we can still potentially help them. It's just a more lengthy conversation about condition, which is not what I like to talk about. If you guys have watched a lot of my King Closer Reacts videos, you see a lot of closers, they really want to talk about condition, and that's not a huge part of what I like to talk about. I mean, yeah, we have to get the condition and stuff like that, but I don't want to get lost in that. I really want to talk about, why do you need to sell, and why do you need to sell for a discount? And understanding that motivation. I feel like it's the most important part. It's the problem that we're solving as a wholesaler. So Saturday night, I get my list, and I've identified right off the bat like 4 or 5 leads that I want to talk to. And it's funny that this mental preparation that I did for myself before the Closers Olympics, I was really concerned about my breathing, not losing my breath. It's a weird thing, and I've never really talked about it before, but one of the most crippling things for me is when I lose my nerve, is that it becomes difficult for me to slow down my breathing and being able to maintain my thought patterns. So I used to, the first ever podcast that I ever did, I was so nervous. I literally couldn't breathe. I sounded like I was choking for probably the first 2 minutes, because I quite frankly couldn't breathe. And so I knew, if I'm going last, I know what I have to beat. Now, luckily, there wasn't too much to beat on Saturday. A lot of people had pretty rough rounds. I knew if I just had a good quality conversation, that was going to be good enough. So I didn't put a lot of pressure coming into it, but I knew that I wasn't going to have the ability to have too many conversations because of the time that I was calling. I think it was like 7 p.m. on a Saturday, Central Time. So it's 8 p.m. Eastern. So I'm finding these motivated sellers. One that I really singled out was a highly motivated property or motivated seller in Illinois. Had a quality conversation with that seller, but it didn't go anywhere, right? The price was not correct. We couldn't come to an agreement due to their financial obligations. But again, I was focused on my breathing throughout and sticking to what I knew I needed to do. So essentially, I ignored probably 60 to 70% of my leads that what I saw was they were not motivated. The motivation was like, hey, I just want to sell without a real estate agent. I'm looking to downsize, things like that. And on a daily basis, if I'm just doing acquisitions, of course, those are going to get called. We're not going to wash those away. But in a competition, knowing that the time frame in which I'm calling, I've got limited amount of calls at a 30-minute time frame in the night that I'm calling, I need to make sure that every conversation matters. And so I was stuck on the 6 or 7 leads that I was going to get in touch with. I got in touch with one. And then, of course, the one that I ended up getting on Saturday night was the brother who was very distressed. It was upset with his sister. It was an inherited property, so that was the motivation that I saw. And he claimed to be the decision maker, but in reality, he was the crazy one, and the sister was actually the shot caller. But it was funny how it worked out, because there was a lot of work that had to go on in the backside than the dispositions and the TC side. But on the acquisition side, basically, I had a very relaxed conversation with that brother. You know, we were laughing, joking. I was cracking open beers, cussing up a storm. You know, I was doing a lot of mirroring and matching his tonality throughout the call. And because of that, I was able to move on to Sunday. Had a great call. Now, what I didn't get any credit for, and it's funny, because in real life, this would have been an amazing move. As any acquisitions person, any closer would have done the exact same move. And inside of your office, if you had somebody do this, you would give a ton of credit for it. I actually got a lot of people were giving me flack for it, saying that I kind of bent the rules and cheated a little bit. But I don't care. I love living in the gray. It's what winners do. They push the boundaries, and then they force rules to be created inside of competitions. That's what the greats do. And so I consider myself a great, and I'm going to push the rule. There is no rule against this. But because I got the signed contract from that brother, I still had time. I had about 8 minutes left. And I had already identified on my list the highly motivated sellers. And so what I was going to do is, hey, I'm going to create my own luck. I'm going to set up my victory lap for Sunday. I already know I'm moving on. I got a signed contract. So I called the highly motivated sellers until I got another seller in Texas. Then that seller is like, yeah, it's a dump. I got to sell it. Highly motivated. Got a number out of them. It was a good number. And I said, hey, not to cut you short, man, but I actually have to run. Is it okay if I call you back tomorrow during this time, around this time? And I put when I figured I'd be going on Sunday. And I set up an appointment with that seller. And that ended up being the close that won me the 2023 Closers Olympics. Now, what's funny about it is a lot of people came to me and said, hey, RJ, you can't do that. And I was like, what do you mean I can't do that? There's no rule against me utilizing my 8 minutes remaining to set up an appointment for me to win tomorrow. I'm sorry, no one else has thought about that. So coming into Sunday, got a new list of leads to call. And I identified the motivations that I wanted to call, the pre-foreclosures, inherited, the ones that are highly motivated, need to sell ASAP, everything that just screams like, hey, I'm willing to sell my property at a discount. So I started calling those, and I wasn't getting anybody to answer. I did get one person to answer in St. Louis, way upside down, referred to him to Matthew Potter, got Matthew Potter on the phone, sent over a short sell packet. And the judges were kind of like, hey, RJ did the right thing, because everyone gave me kudos for not buying that property and closing it sub 2, because it wouldn't have worked. I could have easily just closed it and won and said, boom, I got it, but it would have been a shit deal and it wouldn't have been right. And, that's what people want to point to when it comes to closure limits. Oh, these people, they're just locking up bad deals. But they don't know. They've never actually been a part of it. They're not inside of our business, and they don't know what we actually do. The deals that we locked up, we sold. We did it live with Robert Winsley using Investor Lift, which some of these people that, badmouth the Closers Olympics, they use the exact same product to dispo their deals. So that deal I looked at and I said, no, the right play here, the right exit strategy, and the right way to help this person is they need to do a short sell. And the judges were like, hey, that was the right move, but I don't know if that's going to be a closed deal, right? Again, pushing the boundaries, living in the gray. So I knew, hey, this is more than likely not going to go positive for me. It's not going to go the way it needs to go if I don't get somebody else. Now, originally, I had planned on just calling that guy and logging down the deal in Texas, but everybody had said, no, you can't do that. So we got down and no one was answering the phone. And sure enough, guess who called into the office? That seller that I called the day before. He called into the office. I didn't call him. And he said, hey, we talked yesterday, and I need to sell you the house. So we talked about it. I wrote up the contract, sent him the contract. I had to walk him through how to use his phone, how to open up DocuSign, how to sign it, how to complete the signature. And we got the signed contract. And then the chat started blowing up. This is that guy who talked to you yesterday. He's bending the rules. He's cheating. And it was funny because the judges were like, dude, in real life, this is what winners do. He talked to the guy, told him that we were going to talk today. The seller called in. It wasn't like RJ actively pursued him. I'm giving them credit for it. So they gave me credit for it, and we won. We won the competition. And I look back at that, and I remember both Saturday and Sunday having those moments. I just remember repeating myself, stick to the plan. Don't let the nerves overtake you. Don't lose your breath. Don't get consumed with the chat that's blowing up, right? Because it's just like any other screen. You know, I can see what everybody's commenting. I can see the judges over there talking. I had turned the volume down, but I could see them talking about, you know, he's struggling. No one's answering the phone. He had to call late on Saturday. He's having to call late again on Sunday. And all of these things that could have impacted it. I could have broken the plan and just started dialing everybody and been like, okay, I'm going to go call someone else. And then had potentially a conversation with someone that's not motivated and wasted time. But again, that preparation of knowing what I'm wanting to accomplish and knowing who I am here to help, which is the motivated seller, and identifying that and saying, what's the best way I can be considered lucky? Well, only talk to the motivated sellers. You know you're going to have that information. Sticking to the plan. If you have extra time, set up an appointment for the next day. They don't allow it, they don't allow it, whatever. If I lose because I closed the deal and they said, hey, I cheated, well, I'll go out as a loser because I closed the deal and they said I closed it too good for them. Whatever. Now, go to the 2022 Wholesaling Live Challenge. This, I didn't know what to prepare for. I couldn't really prepare for it because there's never been anything done like it before. They bring us up on stage. They handed us a list of leads. And they said, okay, each person's got 5 leads and you got 30 minutes, go. So we're up there and I'm dialing my phone numbers. I triple dialed everybody. No one answered. And I think the moment that changed the tide for me is I said, I could just keep sitting here and calling these people over and over and over again. But is that really giving myself the best opportunity to win this competition? I just need to talk to someone that needs to sell me a house, and I can close it. So I jumped down off the stage. I went to the first row, and I grabbed someone's list of leads that they have been calling for the past day and a half. And I started calling those. And it was funny because I did that, one of the people helping run the event came over and said, RJ, you've only called leads on this side. You know you have more on this side. And I turned it over, and sure enough, the first number I called on there was the contract that I got. And I don't know if that person ever comes over and says that to me if I don't jump off a stage and do something. Try to make the needle move for me. And so when you're thinking about, all right, well, RJ, this all sounds great. Thanks for the story time. What does this have to do with me and my business? Well, every day when you wake up and you start getting ready for the day and you start thinking about what your goals are for the day, because in order for you to get to your end goal, whatever that is for the year, for the month, for the week, you've got to win that day in order to achieve that goal. So whatever your goal is for that day, you reverse engineer it. And I always use the example of I like to get a contract every single day if I'm doing acquisitions. Okay, so how am I going to get a contract today? I literally walk myself through the different scenarios that are going to come up. What happens if no one's answering the phone? What happens if I'm on the phone with a seller that won't stop talking about conspiracy theories, right? I've got that video posted where the man talks about conspiracy theories for 45 minutes. And what's funny is there's so much time where things like that are happening that people don't understand how I'm thinking about what my next actions are going to be. This isn't going anywhere. I'm going to let this play itself out. I'm not necessarily going to cut this man off and be rude or anything like that because it could end up being a deal. But more than likely, it's not. So what am I going to do? I'm thinking about my next actions. I'm constantly finding ways to take small pivots to get better results, to get to the goal for the day. Because I know if I do that, that's what inevitably leads to people coming back and saying, well, RJ's lucky. RJ, he's got good leads in the Closers Olympics. RJ, he always gets highly motivated sellers on the Closers cage matches or when he does speed to lead or lead Zolos and, things like that. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think it's the fact that I'm constantly working on my preparation to put myself in winning positions. And so for you, on a daily basis, as you're preparing for your day, think about what you can do to always be in a winning position, to be prepared for the opportunity that can come your way. And are you putting yourself in the right position for opportunities to come your way? When you go look at your list of new leads that came in for the day, are you immediately calling the ones that are most highly motivated? Because that's how you start gaining momentum. And last week we talked about the compound effect of momentum, right? The messages here are starting to compound upon themselves, right? We talk about winning the day. We talk about the compound effect of momentum. Now we're talking about how to make your own luck. Well, this goes back to the preparation and thinking about the different scenarios that are going to come your way that can potentially hinder you. And I think a lot of times people don't think about that. I've seen that in the Closers Olympics where we see closers get on the phone with sellers and the conversation is not going anywhere positive and they haven't prepared for what's going to happen during that moment. They're not prepared for what happens when no one's answering the phone. We saw it time and time again where a closer could have gotten off the phone with 13 minutes left, but they waited until 6 minutes left. And then by the time they got a motivated seller on the phone, there was only 3 minutes left and there wasn't enough time for them to close the deal. But if they had an extra 7 minutes, they might have been able to do something with that. They might have been able to close the deal and move on to the next round. These are the types of things that I'm constantly thinking about. And I talked about this, quite frankly, probably every single day for 60 days straight because I was doing the 50-day challenge where it was like, dude, I am putting myself on mental time blocks where I'm saying, all right, it's 3 p.m. I'm going to pretend I'm in the Closers Olympics and that clock starts right now. I've got a 30-minute time clock. What does this look like? Did people put in those reps? Did they put in that preparation for the Closers Olympics? I don't think so. And I think that's why the results ended up where they were in those different competitions. And I think even on a daily basis, I think about those types of things. So what I want from you guys is to see the preparation of thinking about what am I going to do during this time block? And instead of wasting time during that time block, making small pivots to make sure you're getting the results that you need during that time block. Because you go from winning the day to let's win this time block. I break my time blocks down mainly into 2-hour chunks. And then you can start saying, okay, instead of winning those 2-hour time blocks, I want to win this 30-minute time block So now you've got 4 mini competitions inside of that one time bot, and to see how you're doing. And all right, nothing happened during that 30 minutes, so I'm going to change a little bit. I'm going to start calling these leads. I'm going to start calling this lead generation strategy, okay? Instead of calling the PPLs, I'm going to go to my cold call leads. I'm going to go to my first to market leads. I'm going to go to FSBOs. Whatever it is, small little changes make a huge difference. And this is why I can consistently look back and say, dude, just a small little change led to a huge different result. And I don't get bogged down on that. And for me, a lot of times that comes down to making sure I'm composed. I'm thinking back. Instead of getting rattled and frustrated, I think back to, okay, what was I saying to myself this morning, right? When I was getting ready, what was I saying on my drive to the office this morning? All right, if things aren't working out, we know we only had like 7 new leads come in. Where am I going to go? Why am I going there? What is the reason behind it? And then making that decision. I think if you start taking your preparation to an entirely new level, you will see the results change. And one of the ways that I want you guys tracking that is by writing it down as you do it, right? I would sit there and every single day I would have my notepad in front of me and I'm writing down what I'm doing. So if I'm making a change, I'm writing down the time. I'm writing down the small little pivot that I'm making. And so then I can look back, and there would be times during the 50-day challenge, I would just kind of take a minute and just look at my notes. What's something I did 2 weeks ago that made a difference for me? And I know it sounds like a small little thing, but it's not, because it's like, you're not going to remember the change that you made 2 weeks ago, because you're going to be doing this so consistently, it just kind of falls into the weeds. So you look back and you go, that's right. That's what I did. Let me try that out real quick. And then write that down again. Track the results, small pivots, track the results, and then keep taking the action. Don't ever stop taking those actions. So how do you make your own luck? A lot of preparation. Open yourself up to as many opportunities as you possibly can. And as we were thinking about this, it was like, okay, it's St. Patrick's Day. We got to do a video about luck. And I was like, man, I've never been called lucky more than those closers competitions that I've done. It's always frustrated me a little bit, because it's like, no, it's not necessarily about the hard work and the reps that we put in during lives and the 50-day challenges and all that. That's an easy place to look. To me, the foundation of those victories and the foundation of those results starts with the mental preparations, the mental decisions that I make on if this, then that. If things aren't going well, first, focus on internalizing that, keeping your breath, breathing, being patient, trusting the process. There's a reason why you made the decision to do what you're going to do. Don't give up on it. Maybe a small little pivot, okay? And then from there, watch the results follow. So that's what I want you guys thinking about as you go into your days, preparing for the success that you want. How are you going to get there? Instead of just willy-nilly, like, I hope I get results today. I'm going to call my leads. I'm going to go into my CRM and see what happens. That's so loosey-goosey. Okay? It's kind of like a football coach saying, all right, boys, we're going to go out and we're going to win the game this week because we're going to play football. It's like, no. What is the plan? Have a game plan there. Make it available to yourself, even if it's just you. I mean, this is literally me talking to myself about the plans that I'm going to have to succeed. That is what I mean by creating my own luck. It's not really luck. It was the plan all along. Everything that happened in the Closers Olympics in 2023 was something I thought about and I planned out and I knew that I was going to do. And the results are exactly what I anticipated they would be. And that's why I have no problem with anybody saying, hey, RJ, go do a live. Close a deal with this lead generation strategy. Got it. I'll put together a plan. I'll be prepared. I'll know what to do, and I'll go execute. Execution is the easy part. Sitting down and making the preparations and the game plan, that's the hard part. That's the part where you got to sit down and take the time. The executing it, no. We've been doing that for far too long. I've shown you guys way too many videos on how to go out and execute. So this is the first time I wanted to talk to you guys about, hey, the preparation that goes into this to make sure you can execute. That's where the game is won. So make sure you're preparing yourself every single day to create your own luck and go win the game. All right, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure you like the video. See you guys tomorrow.